Please stand as you are able. Gracious and abiding God, we begin with so many wonderful emotions about this day and this commencement ceremony. We acknowledge this major accomplishment by these students as they reach a crossroads of exciting new beginnings. As a class, they have faced times of joy and sorrow, times of conflict and bias, major changes in governance nationally and internationally. They come to this threshold facing this dawn of a new chapter with strength they have gained in this campus community. May they use their skills and the perseverance they employed here as they address the next chapter of life. May the academic rigor they tackled and overcame to get to this day keep them in good stead as they approach new intellectual hills and face life's challenges. So we begin this ceremony in community with family and friends, faculty and staff who have guided these students and encouraged them on their Grinnell journey. Together, we now praise each one of them and this achievement. Thank you for most this amazing day. Amen. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present our 2018 commencement speaker, Celina Biniaz, class of 1952, educator, speaker, and courageous voice for those who didn't get to tell their stories. Her ability to share experiences and find the love instead of the hate serves as an inspiration for our graduates. Please welcome Celina Karp Biniaz.
Thank you, Dr. Kington, trustees, faculty, parents, friends, and definitely the class of 2018. It is a thrill to be here. As my family will tell you, I've always talked about my Grinnell time as some of the happiest of my life. My first encounter with Grinnell was in May 1948, which was only 3 years, almost to the day, after I was liberated by the Russian army from a Nazi concentration camp, specifically Oskar Schindler's factory in Czechoslovakia. At liberation, I was 13 years old and was the youngest female on the now famous Schindler's List. When I visited Grinnell, I had only been a year since I immigrated to the United States with my parents and myself. And in terms of education, World War II has caused me to miss formal schooling from 3rd grade to 11th grade. In short, I was not your typical Grinnell student. I was born in Krakow, Poland. Krakow was a sophisticated city with lots of culture and a renowned university attended by Copernicus. My parents were accountants, and we were living a comfortable life. But soon after the Germans invaded Poland in 1939, we were moved to a Krakow ghetto where all Jews were forced to live in cramped, dangerous quarters. 2 years later, the ghetto was liquidated and we were moved to a concentration camp Plaszow outside of the city. When the Nazis closed that camp, my parents and I were fortunate enough to be placed on Schindler's List, meaning that we were to be transferred to Schindler's factory, munitions factory, in Czechoslovakia. After a 5-week diversion to Auschwitz, my mother and I arrived at the Schindler factory. Because I had small hands, I was given the job of cleaning the machinery because they were hard to reach. After the war, we spent 2 years in Germany as displaced persons. They were restorative years for me. I learned English and other subjects from a 90-year-old cloistered German nun who had never been aware of Nazi hatred towards the Jews. And eventually, thanks to the relative in Des Moines, we got permission to come to the United States. When I arrived at North High School, because I had studied so much in Germany with the nun and other tutors, I was able to enter the 12th grade. And here is where I got lucky. The girls' advisor at the high school was a Grinnell graduate, and she made it her mission for me to continue my education at Grinnell. She drove me here herself. I couldn't believe how beautiful the campus was, and the idea that I might actually be able to go to Grinnell was incredible. The advisor convinced the college to take a chance on me, including a full scholarship and a work program for my room and board. It sounds ridiculous today that tuition in 1948 was only $1,200. But there was no way my parents could even afford that. I bet many of you feel similarly grateful to Grinnell that it was willing to take a chance on you. Before arriving at Grinnell, I had seen the worst of humanity and been denied an education. But when you are forbidden to learn, you really crave it. Grinnell was heaven. So what was Grinnell back then? In some ways, it was what you would expect in 1948, in the late 40s. For example, all women's dorms were locked at 10 p.m. We got 3 late permissions, perms, per semester. In fact, one of my jobs was to sleep at the main door to unlock it for the later comers. Each dorm, male and female, had a middle-aged house mother. Her job was to sew on buttons, talk to the students about their problems, and generally act as a substitute mother. Dinner was a formal occasion. Tables were set, we ate on real china, and each table had a waitress and a busboy. I distinctly remember that food was served on the left and cleared from the right. There were no washing machines on campus. As far as girls were concerned, they sent their laundry home to their mothers in flat brown boxes, and it came back nicely washed and ironed. In other words, Grinnell was way ahead of its time. Way back in 1949, the college started an exchange program with the Hampton Institute in Virginia, an outstanding African-American institution known today as Hampton University. 2 students came up, 1 male and 1 female for 1 semester, and Grinnell sent 2 students there. Andy Billingsley was the male student. He liked Grinnell so much that he came back and graduated from Grinnell. One of his future positions was as president of Morgan State University. Lillian Robinson was the female student, and I was fortunate to become her roommate. We became lifelong friends through marriages, children, and visits to each other's homes. Speaking of lifelong friends, that's what you get in a place like Grinnell. Some of you might have even been lucky enough to meet your partner for life. You will be coming back for reunions and renewals of friendship, At your 30th, 40th, and possibly 50th reunion, the color of your hair might have changed, and in some cases, partially disappeared. There will be wrinkles, and body shapes will have changed. But as soon as you start speaking to an old friend, the mask falls off. You are back in 2018. It truly happens that way. Now let me say a few words about Oskar Schindler, Steven Spielberg, and the power of an individual to change lives. Back in Poland during World War, I would have never imagined that I would survive and end up coming to America, going to college, teaching, and having children and grandchildren. Schindler, a German industrialist, made that possible. Risking execution if he were caught, Schindler single-handedly saved over 1,000 people, including me and my parents. Another person who changed my life is Steven Spielberg. Back at Grinnell, I never could have imagined that some days I would speak about my experiences, Holocaust experiences, in public. For almost 50 years, I didn't speak about them to the people around me, feeling that nobody would truly be able to relate or understand. Spielberg changed that. One Sunday in 1982, opening the New York Times, I saw a front-page review of a newly published book by Thomas Keneally called Schindler's List. I literally jumped, for there was partial story of my life. Oskar Schindler had been honored in Israel, but he was not widely known anyplace else beyond that. About 10 years later, Steven Spielberg's movie was released. While the reality was even worse than what was in the movie, it didn't matter. Audiences were able to get some sense of what it was like to experience the terror of persecution and concentration camps. All of a sudden, people had a frame of reference, and I found myself able to start talking about the war. Spielberg actually got thousands of us talking. He decided to collect as many of the stories as possible before the survivors disappeared. He established the Shoah Foundation, which has collected, translated, and archived 56,000 oral survival testimonies. These videos can be viewed at the University of Southern California and other universities all over the world. Students are able to click on the testimony and hear directly about war experiences. One can read about these things in books. One can actually go to museums and see the artifacts. But nothing is more powerful than the human voice. There is nothing like seeing and listening to an individual human being to connect students with history and the importance of fighting bigotry. Many people reached out to me after watching my testimony, many of them young. People have different reactions. Some find it educational because they didn't know much about the Holocaust. Some find it inspiring because if I was able to move on and create a meaningful life, shouldn't they? And in many cases, they are motivated to do something to fight prejudice and hatred. Ever since Spielberg gave me my voice, I have thought to share my experiences and spread my conviction that hatred and revenge are corrosive and that all human beings deserve to be treated with respect. In fact, my voice is now permanently part of Schindler's List DVD. In 2003, on the 10th anniversary of the release of the movie, Steven Spielberg decided to reissue the film on a two-sided DVD. This was prompted by the efforts of the Holocaust deniers. Now, one side has the film, the other side, voices from the list. Includes several testimonies that support the authenticity of the film, that there really was a Holocaust, and that we were a part of it. Just as it would have been hard to believe that I would end up in America as a part of my life story would wind up in an incredible movie, so I would have never imagined speaking to the graduating class at Grinnell. It has been an honor to address this audience of eager young people, soon to become my fellow alumni. Life is truly unpredictable. As you venture into the larger world, you will encounter certain trials and setbacks, but also great successes. I know this because you have already succeeded here. You are leaving with the great gift of a Grinnell education. Being in the group before me, dressed in academic attire, you are a validation of your teachers' efforts and their faith in your abilities. What you have learned and the knowledge and skills you have acquired are yours to keep. Nobody can take those away from you. Whatever path you take or goals you pursue, please use your knowledge and skills well to fight for the things you care about, knowing that even one person can make a difference. Congratulations and good luck.
President Kington, it is my pleasure to present those persons of high accomplishment and distinction to whom the faculty and trustees of this college wish to accord honorary degrees. I have the honor to present Celina Karp Biniaz for the honorary degree, Doctor of Humane Letters.
Celina Karp was just 13 years old when she arrived in the Auschwitz barracks in the fall of 1944. One day, she was ordered to stand in a line while Dr. Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel of Death, decided who would survive. Mengele motioned her to a group that appeared to be headed to the gas chamber. When her group was unexpectedly sent through the inspection again, she gathered her courage when she was in front of Mengele and said just 3 words, "Lassen Sie mich," let me go. He did. She went on to become one of the 1,200 Jews saved by Oskar Schindler, an experience chronicled in the Steven Spielberg-directed movie Schindler's List. 2 years after the end of the war, an uncle sponsored Karp and her family's relocation to Des Moines. After graduating from North High School, she was accepted at Grinnell, where she earned a bachelor's degree with honors in philosophy and was elected to Phi Beta Kappa. She later attended Columbia University, earning a master's degree in education, and eventually meeting Amir Biniaz. The pair married and moved to Long Island to raise their family. Celina Biniaz began teaching elementary and learning disabled students in 1963 and spent 3 decades as an educator before retiring in 1992. In 1993, after Schindler's List was released, Biniaz became a key supporter of Spielberg's Shoah Foundation, an initiative that has collected more than 50,000 video testimonies and survivor stories from the Holocaust. For Biniaz, who had spent decades in silence about her experience, Spielberg's movie proved transformational. I always tell him that he is my second Schindler, she says. Schindler gave me life, and Spielberg gave me a voice. As the youngest and one of the last surviving workers from Schindler's factory, Biniaz continues to talk about her experience and the lessons she gleaned from it. Hate is corrosive, she says. You have to be able to work through anger and hate in order to move forward. For her persistence in the face of unimaginable obstacles, and for her courage to tell her stories to help others, we are very pleased to recognize Celina Karp Biniaz, class of 1952.
Celina Karp Biniaz, on recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
President Kington, I have the honor to present Professor James R. Holbrook, the honorary degree Doctor of Laws.
James Holbrook wanted to teach at a small college. He graduated from Grinnell with a degree in philosophy and earned a master's from Indiana University. In 1968, instead of going to Yale for a PhD in philosophy, he enlisted in the Army at the height of the Vietnam War. Stationed in the Mekong Delta region as an artillery fire direction specialist, Holbrook later became impassioned about conflict resolution, which transformed the direction of his life. Holbrook went to law school and became a trial lawyer. He spent 2 years as a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and another 26 years focusing on complex civil and federal white-collar criminal litigation. He has been a law professor for the past 16 years, realizing his initial desire to be a college teacher. In 1982, he helped renegotiate dozens of contracts to scale back a power plant under construction, a role in which he excelled. Since then, in nearly 1,000 cases involving a wide variety of disputes, he has worked to resolve problems through mediation and arbitration. This work is aligned closely with Holbrook's belief in the value of peaceful resolution of conflicts, a philosophy he developed in part because of his combat experience in Vietnam. He teaches mediation and arbitration at the University of Utah, sharing his knowledge with hundreds of students. In 2000 and 2012, the university honored him with the College of Law's Award for Excellence in Teaching. In 2015, he received the inaugural Peacemaker Award from the Brigham Young University Kennedy Center for International Studies. He has also taught mediation in India and managed a multi-million-dollar rule of law project in Iraq. Holbrook has used his exceptional persuasion skills to support his alma mater as well. As part of his 50th reunion responsibilities as a class fund director, Holbrook was instrumental in helping his class raise $4 million for the college, shattering all previous records. For transforming some of his most difficult life experiences into an engine for making the world a more peaceful place, we are pleased to recognize James R. Holbrook, class of 1966.
On the recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I hereby admit Professor James R. Holbrook to the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Good morning. What an amazing day, one that you'll never forget. And congratulations to you and to your families for 4 years of hard work and sacrifice. I'm deeply touched to be chosen by Grinnell, my alma mater, to receive an honorary doctorate of law. Having served in combat in Vietnam 50 years ago and having more recently lived in war-torn Iraq, I understand that, like the air we breathe, the rule of law is essential for life, especially for the life of individual and political and economic freedom. I want to thank my 1966 class agent, Ruth Bergerson, and our classmate, Ann Campbell Spence, who nominated me for this honor. And I want to thank the faculty for accepting me for this honor. And I especially want to recognize my wife, Megan, who is here today. Without her love and support, I would not be here. Thank you, Meg. I love you. Let me share some good news and some bad news. First, the bad news. We live in interesting times, which is a purported Chinese curse. We Americans are divided into two tribes, not really speaking to one another anymore, and living in different cultures. Families are divided by ideology. Identity politics rule on the right and the left. Our democracy was deliberately attacked by an unpunished foreign enemy. Iconic institutions are discredited every day. People of goodwill feel despondent and heartsick. Everyday parents send their post-Columbine children off to school wondering if they're going to return home safely in the afternoon. The American dream is a memory, no longer a pathway to all. Our leaders create greater and more willful economic disparity. The beckoning promise of the Statue of Liberty has been broken. The shining city on the hill has gone dark. We've relinquished the world order created at great cost by the greatest generation. The post-9/11 Middle East is more dangerous than ever. Whether there'll be lasting peace on the Korean continent is yet to be seen. And my generation is responsible for this mess, which you will inherit, along with a record and growing national deficit. Now for the good news. You are the good news. You are the last best hope. You are the last best hope for the future of the country I love, the country I fought for, and like Bob Mueller, has served for 50 years. You are superbly well educated, grounded in the liberal arts. You write and speak eloquently. You know and respect diversity. You may not appreciate this now, but your Grinnell preparation has enabled you to have a half dozen different successful careers over the course of your lifetime. You know that all lives matter. You know how fragile and interdependent are the living conditions on our spaceship Earth, that pale blue dot. You know our country is run by those who show up and vote. As a nation, we need your leadership sooner rather than later, now more than ever. We need your service, whether in the public arena or in private and charitable organizations that do the hard work that must be done. We need your aspirations and your creativity. We need you to breathe new life into the American dream by providing good public education and equal opportunity. We need you to protect and promote strong family values and the fundamental values of life, liberty, and happiness for all. You are the future of the new world of Lin-Manuel Miranda and his evergreen Hamiltonian hope and vision of cultural and political revolution. We need you to fight to make America, America again. In closing, I give you this blessing. May you follow your passion until you find your calling. And in the meantime, in the spirit of Alexander Hamilton, don't give up your vote.
President Kington, I have the honor to present Tracey Menten for the honorary degree Doctor of Humane Letters.
For Tracey Menten, an English and writing teacher at Omaha Central High School, teaching is not about lecturing her students and giving arbitrary exams. It is about facilitating real conversations that drive curiosity and empathy about the world and the people around them. Menten's courses often tackle knotty philosophical issues, such as identity, perception, and the nature of reality. She is always seeking new ways to help students connect these abstract concepts with real issues that they face in their lives. Her former students say that they most appreciate the time that she takes to guide them through stressful situations. Whether it was helping me work through a thesis statement or calming me down from my 27th college application panic, she always knew how to encourage me without giving me all the answers, says one. Says another, as a mentor, she worked tirelessly, pushing me to think about the world differently. For Menten, some of her greatest joys come not when her students complete her assignments to the letter, but when they find entirely new ways to show their mastery of the material. She delights in the moments in her classroom when conversations lift off and students have a collective aha realization. In 2014, her efforts were recognized by the Omaha Public Schools, who honored her with the prestigious Alice Buffett Outstanding Teacher Award. She has also participated in a competitive National Library of Congress teaching program and has been selected for a fellowship with Street Law for their program, New Perspectives, Deep Understanding Through Deliberation. In addition to her work in the classroom, Menten helps support the high school's International Baccalaureate program, served as the school's varsity tennis coach, and is a sponsor of a philosophy and epistemology club. She has published pieces in both creative composition and English Journal during her tenure at Omaha Central High School. For her work to support all of her students and instill in them a lifelong appreciation for growth and learning, we are very proud to honor Tracey Menten.
Tracey Menten, on the recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Okay, this is far bigger than any classroom I've ever stood in front of, despite what you've heard about the size of public schools, class sizes. All right, before I get even more awkward and forget all my social skills, I'm going to thank President Kington and the Board of Trustees and faculty of Grinnell, the Honorary Degree Selection Committee. Sorry, I'm very nervous. High school's small classes. All right, thank you to Rachel and the countless other people who made this celebration possible. Obviously, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the time and energy of my students who took the time to nominate me. So to James DeMont and Emma Kokowski-Farron, I direct a lifetime's worth of appreciation. I would be remiss if I didn't thank all my colleagues, both at Flowing Wells High School in Tucson, Arizona, #RedForEd. That's where I first became a public school teacher, and at Omaha Central, where I continue to learn what it means to be a public school teacher. Most importantly, to all the students who have been in the classes I have facilitated over the years, who have taught me more than I could have ever hoped to have taught them, understand that this honor is bestowed on us today, together, for without you, I would wander the world without purpose. The fine folks at Grinnell, they couldn't fit all our names on the degree, so just know that you're here with me today. So for weeks I've been struggling what to say, nervous, obviously, stressed out. So I went to a place that grounds me, the Dagobah system. In my mind, this made sense because, yes, that's a Star Wars reference. I've been compared to Yoda several times over the course of my teaching career. Who wouldn't want to be compared to a 900-year-old green Muppet? So last year I was compared to Ancient One from Doctor Strange. I'm starting to see a pattern. I'm starting to feel old, right? Really old. Then, this year I got compared to Chidi from The Good Place. You know, that young ethics professor? Then I realized all those characters are dead. So luckily, I'm wise enough to understand that those are still compliments, right? So let's go back to Dagobah. So like Luke and Yoda, they're in the swamp, and the X-Wing fighter has just sunk, and Luke, he's determined there's nothing he can do, and Yoda says, and I promised I wouldn't do the voice, so I'm sorry. Always, right? Always with you what cannot be done. Now, most teachers have been in this exact place. Okay, maybe not exact place, but with students who are determined that, what they're being asked to do can't be done. And Yoda looks at Luke and he says, "You must unlearn what you have learned." And for me as a teacher, that's it. This is the biggest challenge I face in my classroom. It's helping students unlearn what they have learned about what it means to learn. I consider myself a lifelong unlearner. So my job as a teacher is to teach students that. And by the way, I knew I was on the right thematic path when I asked James to send me some notes on what he had gotten from his time here in Grinnell, and literally his first note, and I quote, "The realization that sometimes one of the most important forms of learning is actually unlearning," end quote. My little Yoda heart beat. It's just my little inner teacher. So people say I have a great passion for teaching, but really that's not quite accurate. I have a great passion for learning and unlearning. When I ask my students or any other human that I might meet on the street, I say, "Why? Why do you think that? Where'd you learn that? How'd you learn how to do that? Why do you do it that way?" I don't ask because I'm challenging them or criticizing them. I ask them because I spend almost every waking moment of my day taking apart ideas, both my own and those of others. I'm like that kid who takes apart the toaster or the computer, and I try to figure out how it works. I've been told that I just do it with concepts and ideas. I am told, though, that it's just as annoying as it is to wake up to a non-functioning toaster. I'm told that it's annoying to always try to take apart ideas. So as I said earlier, I'm a lifelong unlearner. Why do you care? Well, to start with, you all sit here, products of an educational institution. And in recent years, my students and I, we've spent a lot of time talking about how educational institutions at all levels have become overly focused on the end, the grades, the scores on standardized tests, a diploma, a degree, a job, a good salary. Think of these not as the end, but as mere byproducts of the true end, the learning. Somehow the learning, and I use that term loosely, has become the means. The love of learning for learning's sake, treating learning as the end, has not only become less valuable, but can be, and at times it has been for me personally, a liability. Out in the wider world, people who are lifelong unlearners, which I hope you will all aspire to be, recognize that learning for learning's sake is the true end. And to that end, they continue to ask their questions. Unfortunately, these questions are often perceived as invasive, as criticisms, as personal attacks. At first, my students and people in general they're sometimes put off by my constant barrage of questions. But as Yoda taught me, patience you must have, young Padawan. And so, all right, I did the voice. And so I've come to understand that people must unlearn the habits that they have learned from years of sitting in desks, reading assigned texts on assigned subjects, becoming standardized. Students quickly come to learn that I do not want one right answer. I want 10 plausible answers with reasons why they might be which one might be the right one to choose in a specific context. These are the kind of thinkers the world needs. We are at a critical time in our history as a nation where we need everyone to consume information critically and re-engage with the idea that academic discourse should be happening regularly outside of formal educational institutions. We need to embrace the concept that we need to embrace the concept of unlearning so that we can engage with, learn from, and enjoy the company of people who do not look like we look, do not speak like we speak, and do not think like we think. So here's what I recommend for a lifetime of unlearning. First, read. I recommend you read a lot, and you read a lot of nonfiction on subjects that you've never formally studied. I've never taken a physics course, but I've recently been reading a lot of Carlo Rovelli, and I've managed to unlearn what I thought I knew about the nature of reality and time. So that's been fun. Second, listen. Listen to not just what people say, but how they say it and when they say it. As an English teacher, I've been asked 100 times, why do we have to read this? But on the 101st time, I heard a different question in the same words, and it changed everything about how I taught reading and literature going forward. Third, question. Question everything. Ask questions not to prove someone else wrong or yourself right. Ask questions to unlearn what you know. Ask questions to form alliances, to collaborate, to build empathy and understanding. Read, listen, question. These are the traits of a lifelong unlearner. So go forth and unlearn, no matter what you end up doing after earning your degree here at Grinnell. Congratulations to you all. And remember, try not. Do or do not. There is no try. Thank you.
President Kington, I have the honor to present Chase Strangio for the honorary degree, Doctor of Laws.
As transgender people across the country and around the world fight for visibility, civil rights, respect, and survival, Chase Strangio has been a determined and effective advocate. Through his work as a lawyer and experience as a trans person, he brings unique expertise and empathy to transgender issues. His efforts have led to real changes and greater acceptance for trans people. Strangio's career has been dedicated to the LGBTQIA+ community. After earning a degree in history from Grinnell, Strangio served as a paralegal at GLBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders. He attended law school at Northeastern University, and after graduating, received an Equal Justice Works Fellowship hosted by the Sylvia Rivera Law Project, where he represented transgender and non-binary individuals in prison and in jail in New York. In 2012, with trans activist Lorena Borjas, Strangio co-founded the Lorena Borjas Community Fund, which pays cash bail and bond for LGBTQIA+ people. A year later, Strangio joined the American Civil Liberties Union's legal team, focusing on LGBTQIA+ and HIV issues. He has served as lead counsel for whistleblower Chelsea Manning in her civil case against the Department of Defense. He was part of the ACLU's representation of Virginia high school student Gavin Grimm in his fight to use the boys' restroom at school. Strangio has been active in fighting the ban on transgender people serving in the military and efforts to restrict health care for transgender people. Strangio has helped illuminate the many challenges that trans people face through his appearances on a national stage, including television shows such as Democracy Now! And The Rachel Maddow Show. In a profile of him in Mother Jones magazine last summer, he explained why it is essential to defeat anti-trans restroom bills. If you can't go to the bathroom, you can't go to school or have a job. His Twitter feed encourages many trans readers in a time of crisis and highlights the importance of advocacy. For those behind bars, under attack, at the crossroads of so much peril, those of us with access will keep fighting to hold back the attacks. Strangio's work has been widely honored. In 2014, he was named to the annual Trans 100 list. And in 2017, NBC Out named him to its inaugural Pride 30 list. For his tireless efforts on behalf of justice and gender self-determination, we are very pleased to recognize Chase Strangio, class of 2004.
Chase Strangio, on recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Thank you all so much for this honor. I am still quite jarred by how much my entire life has become associated with bathrooms, but I think I'll just go with it. Thank you for that really lovely introduction. So I'm so happy to be here to share this amazing day with all of you. Coming to Grinnell, it still very much feels like coming home. It was here that I learned how to love, where I learned how to live authentically and how to think critically. I learned to question what I had previously internalized as self-evident truth, to expose historical and political narratives as deeply contingent ideological sites for the production and maintenance of structures of power. Structures in this country in particular organized to maintain white supremacy and anti-blackness, and especially consolidated through the building of the criminal legal system. And these are the structures that I would commit my life to disrupting. And perhaps a little too much. So one story for you. So a few years ago, I was talking to my kid after preschool, one day, and I asked her, how was your day? And she said, it wasn't good. Why not, I asked. Well, she said, they made us line up as boys and girls, and I told them that I couldn't because I'm both a boy and a girl. But they told me I was a girl and I had to get in line with the girls. So you can imagine that I had some talks with the schools. But so what did you do then? When they said that, I asked her. I threw myself on the ground screaming, she answered. So, though not always my preferred reaction, I was pretty proud of her that day. Definitely my kid, I thought. Because I also want to throw myself on the ground screaming when confronted with systems like the gender binary that make no sense, that serve to oppress us, and that limit the beauty we can build in the world. And Grinnell taught me to throw myself on the ground screaming. Not literally in most cases, but it was here that I learned the power of disruption. where I learned to leverage my privilege and my access to powerful institutions and dismantle them in any way that I could. When I left Grinnell, I was certain that I never wanted to become a lawyer or move to New York or work for big mainstream institutions like the ACLU, but I soon did all of those things. And for each unexpected next step in my life, Grinnell had already given me the tools that I needed. The patience to hold the messiness of my humanity, the creativity to imagine a world more just than the one that we know, and the humility to make mistakes and to grow. We are living in dark times, but for so many, the times have always been dark. I have found that the people who have navigated the most darkness generally know how to find and lead us towards the light. Remember to listen and learn from people whose voices you were taught to ignore, including yourself. Wherever you go next, I hope you find your moments to throw yourself on the ground screaming, to fight back against injustice where your power or privilege protects you, and to call on others to enter the arena when your pain and trauma necessitate that you turn inward. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you for being you, and I'll see you out there.
It is now my privilege as president to recognize members of the faculty who, after long and devoted tenure at the college, are entering upon emeritus status. I now ask Jack Muty, Sidney Meyer Professor of International Economics, to rise. Early in his career, Jack Muty worked stints in the U.S. Treasury and the Council of Economic Advisors, but it was at Grinnell that he found his home. He is fascinated by big picture issues, including economic policy formation, international trade, and international taxation. Muty especially values the insights of students who bring into class their varied international experiences under diverse economic policies and circumstances. For his commitment to deeply understand and share how economic policies shape the world, we are pleased to recognize Jack Muty. I now ask Catherine Rodd, Special Collections Librarian and College Archivist, to rise. There. Catherine Rodd has spent much of her career working to share Grinnell's valuable historical documents and artifacts with the campus community and with the world. She has helped faculty integrate special collections material into numerous courses. She has played a key role in Digital Grinnell, which allows anyone in the world to access unique archival materials. And she's been active in numerous library-led professional library organizations. For her efforts to bring libraries' vast resources to as many people as possible, we are proud to honor Catherine Rodd. I now recognize Professor of Art History Susan Strauber, who could not be with us today. In her roles as both an art historian and as a professor at Grinnell, Susan Strauber sought to make a measurable impact. Strauber's ambitious projects included revising and translating a compendium of the prints of French artist Eugène Delacroix, a vital resource for art historians. She also helped determine the authenticity of works attributed to the artist. At Grinnell, she helped triple the number of tenure-track professors in the department over the course of her career. For her efforts to strengthen Grinnell's art history department and her work to do research that benefits the field itself, we are pleased to recognize Susan Strauber. I now ask Chuck Sullivan, Professor of Biology, to rise. Okay. For Chuck Sullivan, the value of research was not what it could do for his career, but what it could do for his students' lives. He worked with more than 100 students on research projects, many of whom pursued careers in science. More recently, his roles with the National Science Foundation and George Washington University School of Medicine have allowed him to develop programs designed to improve undergraduate and graduate biology education nationwide. for his work to give students opportunities to understand science through research and the real world. We are pleased to recognize Chuck Sullivan. I now ask Professors David Arsenault and George Barlow to please stand. It is my honor to recognize those faculty members moving to senior faculty status. Senior faculty status recognizes those members of the faculty who wish to be released from their regular full-time teaching obligations to pursue scholarly and professional activities associated with the college. Congratulations.
President Kington and ladies and gentlemen, the Dean of the College will now present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Would the candidates for the Bachelor of Arts degree please rise? President Kington, on recommendation of the faculty of Grinnell College, I present to you these candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts. Having fulfilled all of the academic requirements, they are deemed worthy of and entitled to this degree.
As president of Grinnell College, I now recommend to the Board of Trustees, through you as one of its members, that each of these students be graduated to the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Improvise.
I'll start again. President Kington, the charter of this institution states that the college's object shall be to promote the general interests of education and to qualify young people for the different professions and for the honorable discharge of the various duties of life. It is my pleasure to acknowledge that these students have not only completed a course of formal study at this institution, but have also come to know the demands and the rewards of a shared experience in learning. As such, they have indeed furthered the general interests of education and qualified themselves for the honorable discharge of the various duties of life. The Board of Trustees is therefore pleased to accept your recommendation and authorizes you as president to grant this degree.
By the authority vested in me by the trustees of Grinnell College, I now officially declare that having met all the requirements, you are today granted the degree of Bachelor of Arts and are admitted to all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities that it confers. Congratulations, you may be seated.
President Kington, Associate Professor Tim Arner will call the graduates in the Division of Humanities.
Will the graduates to the Professor of Arts degree from the Division of Humanities please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Erhan Amud. Mamaya Bihama and Pofo Tenkorang. Patrick Conrad Armstrong. Tristan John Wilds Ashatino. Carson Fiorillo Bacchus. Stuart William Bass. Ameris Mariah Bates. Vincent Michael Benlock. Mallory Tieran Bergtold. Savannah Christine Biederman. Henry Ryan Bolster. Io John Bowman. Madeline Claire Brand Labarge. Christina G. J. Brewer. Ronan McKenna Brooks. Liana Catcher Bouchard. San Tsai. Devin Simone Tiffany Carlton. James Daniel Caruso. Jin Chang. Christian DeAndre Clark. Julia Marie Corey. Jessica Nicole Daly. Duke Dong. Alexandra Ray DeGraff in absentia. Khalil Harris Epps. Emma Carol Friedlander. Isabel Gerber Breidolf. Jacob Burks Getzoff. Margaret Louise Giles. Kristen Lee Gillis. Isabella Christensen Gonzalez. Drew G. Greenwood. Samonique Nelina Hengst. Matthew Carl Henze. Keith Andrew Hoagland. Ryan Vin Hung. Luke Heinrich Anthony Jansen. Luke Olaf Jerzina. Jaewon Kim. Min G. Kim in absentia. Helen Grace Charleston Lant. Michael Lee. Justin Luba in absentia. Hannah Louise Lundberg. Claire Ma. Andrew Ryan Mack. Tan Tuong Mai. Karen Elizabeth McKechnie. Christian Allen Mackenzie Morris. Claire Alice Nash. Eleanor Cardenas Nicholson. Evelyn Renee Kiyoyo. Ifetayo Olotusin. Courtney Lynn Peterson. Victor Mal Pimpachan. Maxwell Tate Pilcher. Sydney Nikwate Corte. Reed William Rothfuss. Julia Bell Schaefer. Peter Herbert Sills. Leon Elizabeth Simmer. Josephine Eleanor Sloyan. Cecily Lindsay Smith. Jackson James Smith. Sue G. Sun. Sonia Francesca Spain. Marie Ellen Spachala. Emma Louise Treband. Clara Mary Tripp. Martha Edith Villanueva. Naya Jacqueline Whedon. Xiaohang Zhang. President Kington, these are the graduates from the Division of the Humanities.
Professor Kington, Professor Karen Schumann will call the graduates in the Division of Science.
Will the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree from the Division of Science please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Catherine Joyce Ackerman. Alexis Emilia Acosta. Ritika Agarwal. Helena Francis Alasha. Kevin Andrew Anderson. Melissa Joan Anderson. Amanda Page Arut. Zhang Hu Bei. Allison Emma Bartz. Scott Aaron Beecher. Christopher Allen Bell. Claire Rose Berteau. Ryan Kenley Betters. Minucci Yeto Clisto Bizimu. Sylvia Roth Bindis. Lindsay McKenna Byrne. Stefan E. Siernick. Siddharth Chuman. Alex Chung. David Honorary Chung. Lucille Anna Chechik. Jianting Chen. Jaekuk Jason Cho. Eileen Chung Sing Chu. Rita Janet Clark Sardino. Samuel David Collins. Shane Michael Comiskey. Kevin Forrest Connors. Andre Korkovich. Joshua Ryan Cottle. Evan Charles Cunningham. Ushi Dun. Devin Austin Dooley. Jonathan S. Dowell. Hannah Sue Drake. Carson John Dunn.
Don't do that again.
Jacob Kennedy Ekstrand. Shannon Ray Ellery. Julia Beth Fay. Henry Walter Fisher. Nina Elizabeth Gallanter. Anna Rose Galloway. Alexander Gerald Pavlovich Glenoff Bacab. Logan Wyatt Goldberg. Madeline Rose Goldman. J. Irwin Gulcher. Maida Gopalaswamy. Riley Noonan Grant. Colin Paris Greenman. Connor Lee Gregorich Trevor. Matthew Julius Guthrie. Lillian Mijin Haight. Russ Mijin Haight. Muhammad Humza. Chad James Harper. Nicolai Thomas Haroon. Bingya He. Jinglin He. Dana Elizabeth Hilbronner. Annika Adrian Helverson. Beatrice Michi Hirse Hagawara. Kuo Dong Ho. Ann Thien Wong. Harrison Clay Ho in Accenture. Hannah Huang. Sarah Denise Ho. Alexander Pavlov Rusanov. Lauren Patrice Hurley. Daewung Daniel Huang. Hannah Jean Huang. Lika Ishida. Maria Ivica. Da Huang John in Exemptia. Jason Thomas Jennings. Avantika Jawri. Sarah Jane Worsley Jordan. Theo Kalfas. Michael Anthony Camp. Philip Todd Kane. Alexandra Karyadiri. Nana Kavanyaman. Sophia Katz. Joel Joseph Katakaran. William Max Kaufman. Helena Sidney Kleiner. David J. Kreis. Ray Kuhlman. Talia Leilani Larson. Daniel Shinwoo Lee. June Rock Lee. Jihyun Lee. June Young Lee in absentia. June Tech Lee. Andrea No Leff. Allison Lee. Hanshi Lee. Shenyu Lee. Yanzhou Lee. Haoyoung Liu. Julie Chonghua Lu. Youngie Liu. Alice Helena Lowenson. Samuel Francisco Lopez. Monica Loza. Emma Catherine Lumen. Joseph McDonald. Andrew George Mack. Emily Robin McClure. Mackenzie Grace McFate.
Can I just see? I think you accidentally turned a page. I think you skipped a page.
Mac? I have Mac here. Oh, dear.
You skipped a
Okay.
page.
Yes, I did.
So we're
Okay.
on Claire.
Yeah, Claire. Okay, sorry. Claire Celia Youngdahl Magdalener. Juan Felipe Marin. Robert Benjamin Marco Frank. Sarah Marcoux. Melina Joy Maxwell. Robert Glenn McCarty. John Patrick McNamara. Elizabeth Ann McQuaid Butler. Eric Nicholas Mocha. Madeline Marie Maki. Alexander Cole Monovich. Kayla Jean Morrissey. Emily Rue Moss. Eli Andrew Most. Karishna Mudwari. Basil Tendai Mupasiri. Matthew Theodore Tedesco Murphy. Michael Bruce Nattinger. Otabek Norbirak Ogli Nazarov in absentia. Kira DeMay Nyland. Tu Am Nguyen. Jason O. in absentia. Haley Julia O'Neill. Raishin Uyong. Grace Hone Park. Catherine Ann Parrish. Lillian Miles Payan. Alexandra Julia Petrusen. Ling Tao Pham. Solomon Ikaika Okeke Philip. Represh Pradhan. Prabir Mansingh Pradhan. Sandeep M. Prakardan. Arthur Blakely Risch. Nicholas Alexander Robertson. Heather Lynn Roche. Aaron Molinar Rosenfeld. Emma Catherine Rokowski. Sarah Danielle Ruiz. Seth Emmanuel Ruiz. Francisco Gabriel Sanchez Conde. Ava Elena Sari. Zoe Catherine Scott Nevros. The Andrew W. Archibald Prize for Highest Scholarship is awarded at each commencement to that student or students who have attained the best record of academic achievement over the 4-year period of collegiate work. Established in 1927, the award is named for its donor, the Reverend Andrew W. Archibald, who served as a distinguished member of the college's Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure to present one of the Archibald Prize medalists for 2018, Zachary Huanghui Siegel. Julia Shengguan. Christopher Andrew Lyons Sharp. Alitza Haruko Shutt. Sierra M. Silverwood. Michael Patrick Slattery. Catherine Lynn Smith. Elijah Christopher Smithhurst. Christine Danielle Solomon. Evan Sorensen. Zachary R. Spar. Catherine Joyce Sue. Haonyan Sun. Jimin Tan. Sally A. Timko. Nathan A. Tomatich. Victor Valle Cruz.
Happy birthday, Victor! Happy birthday!
Francesca Linda Varius. Maria Eleonora Veneri. Sydney Rose Versenaire. Austin Jacob Wadle. Peter Cannon Walker. Yan Wan. Di Wang. Jinxuan Wang. Jue Wang. Yuan Wang. Rachel Mahala Ward. Bradley Austin Weaver. Lily Rose Butterscotch Brand Weiss. Adam Joseph Wesley in absentia. Adobia Tara Williams. Archibald James Williams. Maida Winsek Williams. Elisa Yao. Catherine Ruth Yetter. Yue Yui. Elizabeth Claire Zach. Shayna Zarkin Scott. Nathaniel James Zarobin. E. Joe. Jonah Lewis Zimmerman. Kiara M. Zitza. President Kington, these are the graduates from the Division of Science.
President Kington, Associate Professor Ed Cohn will call the graduates in the Division of Social Studies.
Will the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree from the Division of Social Studies please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Zoe Camille Aber. Decca Abdurrahman Aden. Dylan Joseph Ambrosoli. Karnika Aurora. Sarah Rose Ashbaugh. Mekdis Hailselassie Asifa. The President's Medal is awarded annually at each commencement. To the senior who exemplifies an ideal Grinnell student. Superior scholarship, demonstrated leadership that credits both the student and the college, compassionate and sensitive behavior, and individual responsibilities are among the qualities that must be demonstrated. It is my pleasure to present the President's Medalist for 2018, Yesenia G. Ayala. Nathan David Balcom. Lucy Elizabeth Bales. Joshua Merritt Ball. Sydney LeVay Banich. Tyrell Marquise Battle. Christian Peter Bauman. Joel Anand Bauman. J. Anthony Bergida, in absentia. Sydney Hannah Bergman. Jessica A. Black. Za Bo. Rachel Eve Buckner. Evan Johnston Beniss. Taylor Jade Burton. Polly Ancona Carr, in absentia. Diane Yejin Cho. Brianna Reed Clark. Alexander Timothy Claycomb. Stephen W. Crouch. Sean Phillips Cullinane. Michael Robert Cummings. Artis Jewel Rothels Churiskis. Madeline Rose Danks. James Christian Anderson DeMott. Ayan Day. Antonio Dominic DeMarco. Rosalind Cordelia Duncan in absentia. Zoe Niat Zawang. Roberta Dutra da Silva e Silva. Helen Taylor Eckard. Haley Ann Elmahasny. Jeremy Bensusan Epstein. Kayla Drew Estes. Donna Chana Fincy. Tess Richards Fisher. Anthony James Fitzpatrick. Rachel E. Four. Samuel Atticus Galinek. Keenan Joseph Gleason. Rodus Asnaku Hailu. Eleanor Hafey Hanley. Vedika Herlalka. Hasib Haroon. Shannon Marie Hautzinger. Noah Henry Herbin. Alice R. Herman. Taylor Catherine Herney. Ashley Therese Rose Jackson. So-young Jung. Anushka Joshi. Caitlin Jean Kaczmarek in absentia. Thomas Augustus King. Misha Miles Lawrence. Bianca Turan Leichnitz. Jeffrey Tayan Lee. Abdiel Hosu Lopez. Rhett Austin Lundy in absentia. Sophie Kathleen Macklem Johnson. Ian Raymond Malone. Jose Alfonso Mendez. Catherine Trish Menner. Alexandra Birgit Middeldorp. Isaac James Milkey. Annette Kamuma Mokoa. Anastasia Alexandrovna Morozova. Emily Elise Porter. Christine Marie Rains. Andrew Francis Redhead. Margaret Mary Remus. Joseph Ree in absentia. Emily A. Ricker. Sebastian Rivera. Victoria Lee Robinson. Charles Michael Rosenblum. Emmett William Sandberg. Anushka Saraf. Jonathan Nelson Schicka. Anna Schernbeck. Olivia G. Shobo Elzinga. Callum Edwin Scott. Natalie Ann Seeger. Kavya Tejal Shah in absentia. Natnael Wandimagegnu Shibru. Nomalanga Shields. Lucia Emmanuel Sidi, in absentia. Sydney Nicole Steinley. Emily Reed Stevens. Liam Patrick Stowe. Jaron Von Sudden. Deanna Rochelle Taylor in absentia. Whitney Loudon Teagle. Zachary David Vall. Zala Tomasic. Lucia Jane Doty Tonashell. Chen Wong. Yuthe Wong. Summer Jade White. Benjamin Wong. Thomas George Wong. Lauren Sujin E. Meng Yuan. Yun Zhao. Emma Margaret Zimmerman. President Kington, these are the graduates from the Division of Social Studies.
Will the
President
graduates
Kington.
to the Bachelor of Arts degree with independent and interdivisional majors please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Leah Rachel Barr. Hannah Catherine Bogus. Misha Gelnarova. Vera Khan. Aminata Buganzi Kinana. Hannah Mavis Kikuko Lord. Elliot Dolores Maya. Ernesto Naderi Palacios in absentia. Zachary Falk Steckel. Frederick Eli Wallace Tenenbaum. And Ella O'Connor Williams. President Kington, these are the graduates with independent and interdivisional majors. President Kington, I wish to at this time to recognize the members of the class of 2018 who have been accepted into the 9th semester program leading to Iowa teaching certification. Would these students please stand as I call their names and remain standing until I have completed the list? Karen Elizabeth McKechnie. Eden Gregory. Eleanor Heafy Hanley. Julia Beth Fay. Mallory Taryn Berthold. Michael Patrick Slattery. Peter Herbert Sills. Congratulations, students. Please be seated.
Will the graduates to the degree of Bachelor of Arts please rise?
Today, many of you here are awash in memories. Parents, you may be remembering your child's first day of kindergarten or first talent show, or maybe those nights in middle school when you wondered how your child would ever make it through high school, let alone college. Our faculty members might be remembering their own graduations when they wondered if their own ambitions and aspirations were too lofty or out of reach. And students, I imagine that even as you sit here on the precipice of a new adventure, you're awash in newfound nostalgia for your time at Grinnell, the friendships you've made, the ideas you've encountered, the mentorship you received, and the adventures you've had all over the world. It is my sincere hope that you have an abundance of many fond memories you'll treasure forever, as this is the kind of thing that college presidents are supposed to remind you of on Commencement Day. But today, I also want to celebrate and embrace the less fond memories you may have of your time in college. Today, I want to celebrate not only your successes and joys, but also the moments of discomfort and struggle you felt over the past 4 years. For these uncomfortable moments also were an important part of your life experience. While visiting campus several years ago, the novelist Charles Baxter quoted from his essay, A Letter to a Fiction Writer, saying the following: "The hardest part of being a writer is not the long hours of learning the craft, but learning how to survive the dark nights of the soul. Part of the deal of having a soul at all includes the requirement that you go through several dark nights. No soul, no dark nights." Let's replace the word writer with the phrase critical thinker, which all of you are after 4 years at Grinnell. And as wonderful as that sounds, there's a burden that comes with that. The long hours of academic work, the craft of thinking, is something you have mastered at this point. And the fact that you chose Grinnell and made it through 4 rigorous and challenging years here proves that you do have a soul. And so, in the infrequent yet inevitable dark nights that lay ahead, I hope that the fondest memories you have of Grinnell College will sustain you. But I also hope that your less fond memories will also bring you comfort. Remember the time a project you devoted yourself to for many weeks failed to yield the results you dreamed of. While you moved on to the next project, you didn't quit. Remember the friendship that didn't last the way you felt it would at first. Well, you made new friendships after that, maybe better ones. Remember the unexpected griefs that blindsided you, while your community sustained you and showed you its collective strength. Remember that moment in your seminar where someone said something that really upset you, or the text your professor chose made you feel uncomfortable, or class discussion that went into a place you didn't want to go. Remember when you disagreed with the administration, I know it's hard to imagine, and you fought to make yourself heard. Well, remember that you endured those challenges. Remember that you wrestled with the ambiguity of those situations, and you came through them wiser, more experienced, and yes, tougher than you initially thought yourself to be. Our triumphs are only a small part of our record of success. And so today I want to remind you that while I hope the fond memories will always be at the forefront of your mind, I expect that the less pleasant memories will be there too, reminding you of who you are, of what you're capable of withstanding in terms of discomfort, and how strong you've become. Grinnell College is one of those places, rare in our culture, where people walk around talking about the books and the ideas that saved their lives. And so it is a place where I can say that the writer James Baldwin saved my life, and many other people will know what I mean. As a middle-class black gay kid growing up in Baltimore, it meant everything to me to read the work of this clearly gay, brilliant, and worldly African-American man, whom my parents, and especially my father, deeply respected both for his brilliance and for his insistence on speaking out. He opened a small window in my mind about what was possible, about speaking the truth, about the worlds that were out there ready to be discovered, about doing what you knew to be right no matter what. My favorite James Baldwin quote, quite relevant in these troubled times, comes from the last page of Notes of a Native Son. He wrote, "Hatred, which could destroy so much, never failed to destroy the man who hated, and this was an immutable law." It began to seem that one would have to hold in the mind forever two ideas which seemed to be in opposition. The first idea was the acceptance totally without rancor of life as it is and men as they are. In the light of this idea, it goes without saying that injustice is a commonplace. But this did not mean that one could be complacent, for the second idea was of equal power, that one must never in one's own life accept these injustices as commonplace, but must fight them with all of one's strength. This fight begins, however, in the heart, and it now had been laid to my charge to keep my own heart free of hatred and despair. That last sentence is worth repeating. This fight begins, however, in the heart, and it now had been laid to my charge to keep my own heart free of hatred and despair. It is no secret that knowledge can be devastating, and the more we learn about the world's history and contemporary workings, the more tempting it will be to give in to hatred and despair. But Baldwin's admonition to avoid those very things is a wise one. Baldwin understood that his survival, his thriving, depended on his ability to grow comfortable with imperfection without accepting it as an end. We know that we all fail sometimes, but we must remember that we also succeed. People will disappoint us sometimes, but they will also amaze us. And our leaders will sometimes be far, far from ideal, or even fail to meet the basic standards of decency or of our college motto, veritas et humanitas, truth and kindness or benevolence or humaneness. But those moments of recognizing our leaders' failures become the opportunities for the next generation of leaders to step forward as a chorus of outspoken, courageous voices. If you spend any time on campus during one of our alumni reunion weekends, you'll overhear Grinnell graduates waxing poetic about their time here. Though if you talk to them for a while, you'll also learn that even our most loyal alumni have more than just happy memories of their time here. They too had struggles and challenges and moments of intense discomfort. And without those moments, they would likely not have had the successful lives they had. They would not have had a liberal arts education in the fullest sense if the sole goal of Grinnell College had been to simply ensure comfort and pleasure for all of our students. You are Grinnellians and you're called to action. Whatever those actions might be, you'll soon discover. And I hope you can remember the advice of James Baldwin and look unflinchingly, without hatred and despair, at the world's injustices while simultaneously acting to correct them. And when you act, when it is your time to speak, to create, to lead, to innovate, to inspire, you'll draw on a well of memories, the joyful and the uncomfortable ones both, to do something wonderful you can't even begin to imagine. And if those dark nights of the soul linger a little too long, come back and visit us. We are your community, and we will always be here. In closing, I leave you with my warmest wishes and my greatest hopes. May you continue to flourish, bringing with you on your journey your visions of excellence, action, and the possibility for a better tomorrow. Good luck. I now request that everyone stand, if able, to receive the benediction.
As this ceremony ends, we congratulate these graduates. As they go forth from Grinnell, grant them safety and strength as they grow and change in the years to come. May they have the support and resources they need to make important contributions to their communities throughout our world. May they always remember these years, draw on this community when necessary, mentor future Grinnellians when possible, and return often to visit their college home. May the relationships they have developed on and off campus continue as friendships that help to feed their spirit in the peaks and valleys of life. As bright young leaders, help them to have the resources and courage to engage in their work where their knowledge and energy is most needed. May they find enjoyment in that work, happiness in their days, and keep love in their hearts. But above all, may they live in hope. With it, so much more is possible. We look to the future with great expectations from each of you. Peace be upon us all this day and always.